Miami, Florida. The Mutiny Club was in full swing. Friday night, March 13th, 1981. More than 300 people filling the most decadent and dangerous club in Miami. Cocaine being snorted openly at the VIP tables. Colombian, Cuban, and American dealers mingling with models, musicians, and corrupt officials in the kind of environment that turned the mutiny into both the epicenter of drug trafficking and the wildest party on the East Coast. Disco music blasting from the speakers, conversations impossible to hear, and no one paying attention to the short, discreet woman sitting alone at a corner table. Griselda Blanco, 42 years old, 5 feet tall, watching everything with unblinking black eyes. No one noticed when Pablo Escobar stood up from his reserved table, his face red with rage and cocaine, and began walking directly toward Griselda. His bodyguards followed immediately. Other dealers turned to watch. Escobar's body language made it clear that something violent was about to explode. Escobar reached Griselda's table and did not sit down. He did not lower his voice. He slammed both hands on the table so hard that the champagne glasses shook and fell. And he shouted loud enough for half the club to stop dancing. "You have the nerve to show up here after what you did, you crazy bitch. You think you can steal my load and keep breathing? You think because you're a woman I'll show mercy? I tried to be civilized with you, tried to give you a chance to work with me, to be part of something bigger, but you're too stupid to recognize when someone's doing you a favor." The entire mutiny fell silent. 300 people stopped dancing, stopped snorting, stopped breathing because Pablo Escobar, the most powerful drug lord in Colombia, the man whose cartel moved $50 million a month, was publicly humiliating Griselda Blanco, treating her like a low-rate thief who had stolen 300 kilos of his cocaine. Griselda did not stand up. She did not draw the gold-plated .380 pistol she carried in her waistband. She made no aggressive move. She just looked at Escobar with a completely blank expression. No anger, no fear, no reaction to the insult or the threat, and waited for him to finish. The silence in the club was sepulchral. People at nearby tables watched in shock at this public humiliation of a woman considered one of Miami's most ruthless dealers. But there she sat, accepting Escobar's screams and insults without reacting, without defending herself, without doing anything beyond staring at the Colombian man insulting her in front of hundreds of witnesses. And then Griselda spoke. Her voice was so low that people had to lean in to hear, so calm that it seemed disconnected from the fury Escobar displayed, so cold that several witnesses later described it as the most terrifying thing they'd ever heard in their lives. "You have 48 hours to get your entire operation out of Miami. After that, every Colombian from your cartel I find in my city dies. You want to insult me in public? Want to call me a crazy bitch and a thief in front of everyone? Fine, your choice. But choices have a price, Pablo. And the price for disrespecting the Godmother is that your people start showing up dead. Not arrested, not deported. Dead. 48 hours. Use that time well." Escobar threw his head back and burst into genuine, uncontrollable laughter, like a man who couldn't believe what he was hearing. 48 hours! This crazy whore is going to give me 48 hours. Did you hear that? The Black Widow thinks she can give ultimatums to Pablo Escobar. He turned to the entire club, engaging the audience like a showman. "All of you are witnesses. Griselda Blanco, this nobody, this insignificant little woman, thinks she can threaten me. Let me explain something, darling. In 48 hours, you'll be working for me or you'll be dead. Those are your only options. There's no scenario where a woman beats Pablo Escobar. That's how the world works." Griselda did not respond. She simply finished her glass of champagne, stood up slowly, and walked toward the exit. The crowd parted for her as if she carried a contagious disease. She passed Escobar without looking at him, past his bodyguards who tensed but did not stop her, and left the Mutiny Club into the hot Miami night. Escobar watched her go, still laughing, still shaking his head in disbelief. He returned to his table, ordered more champagne and cocaine, and spent the rest of the night telling the story to anyone who would listen, describing how he had put that arrogant Colombian woman in her place, how Griselda had sat there doing nothing, like all women do when real men remind them who's in charge. Pablo Escobar went to bed that Friday, March 13th, 1981, believing he had won, believing he had publicly destroyed his last serious rival in Miami, believing the conflict was essentially over. 9 hours and 17 minutes later, the first body was discovered. To understand what happened in the 48 hours that followed, to understand how 10 men died with such precision that it would reconfigure drug trafficking in Miami for the next decade, You need to understand what went through Griselda Blanco's mind as she left the Mutiny Club that night. Griselda was not surprised by Escobar's behavior. She had known for months that he despised her, that he considered her an inferior dealer who only operated in Miami because he allowed it, that he saw her as a thief who had stolen his cocaine and needed to be publicly punished as an example. But Escobar had made a fatal mistake. He had disrespected Griselda Blanco in front of 300 witnesses. He had called her a bitch, crazy, a nobody. And worse, he had laughed at her. He had treated her threats like a joke. And Griselda Blanco did not tolerate disrespect. She did not accept being ridiculed. And she definitely did not accept men thinking they could publicly humiliate her without consequences. When Griselda left the Mutiny Club, she already had a plan that had been prepared months earlier, waiting only for the right moment. And Pablo Escobar, with his arrogance and his need to publicly demonstrate power, had just given her the perfect moment. Saturday, March 14th, 6:30 in the morning. Carlos Herrera, one of Escobar's main distributors in Miami, was found in the parking lot of his apartment in Coral Gables. 3 shots to the back of the head, professionally executed. Police found a handwritten note in Spanish in his jacket pocket. 1 down, 9 to go. The Godmother does not forget disrespect. Sunday, March 15th. 2 men. Alberto Bravo found dead in his Cadillac on Calle Ocho at 10 in the morning, strangled with piano wire. Jorge El Tigre Ayala, executed during breakfast in a crowded Cuban restaurant. 2 gunmen entered, fired 6 times, and left before anyone could react. The notes: 2 down, 8 to go, 3 down, 7 to go. Each note signed with the same warning. The Godmother collects the price of disrespect. Miami police were in total shock. 3 professional assassinations in less than 36 hours, all connected to Escobar's cartel, all executed with military precision. And the notes made it clear that 7 more deaths were promised. Pablo Escobar called an emergency meeting, surrounded himself with 20 bodyguards, ordered all his operators in Miami to hide, sent messages to Griselda offering negotiation, saying they were overreacting, that they could resolve this like civilized people. Griselda did not respond, and the deaths continued. Monday, 2 more. Rafael Cardona shot in the face inside a barbershop in Little Havana. Miguel Velez thrown alive into Biscayne Bay with concrete blocks tied to his feet. Fishermen found the body Tuesday morning. The notes: 4 down, 6 to go, 5 down, 5 to go. Get out of Miami or keep losing men. Tuesday night. Fernando Gomez dead inside a nightclub in South Beach. Poison dumped in his drink. He died convulsing on the dance floor while 200 people watched. Luis Ospina disappeared. His body was found 3 days later in a container at the port, tortured before dying. 6 down, 4 to go. The Godmother does not negotiate. Get out now. Escobar's operation in Miami was in total panic. His men refused to go out on the streets. Some fled to other cities. Others tried to negotiate directly with Griselda, offering money, cocaine, anything to stop the executions. But no one could find Griselda. She had become a ghost, invisible, untouchable. A presence that existed only through the notes and the bodies. Wednesday. Diego Murillo shot 43 times in front of his house, an execution so violent that police needed hours to document the scene. Ricardo Salazar kidnapped from a parking lot. His body was never found, only a note left in his car. 8 down, 2 to go, last chance to leave Miami alive. Thursday morning. Javier Peña, one of Escobar's closest lieutenants, found decapitated in his apartment. The head left on the kitchen table with a note in its mouth. 9 down, 1 to go. The final message comes today. Pablo Escobar was barricaded in a mansion in Coconut Grove, surrounded by 30 armed bodyguards. He sent desperate messages to Griselda, offered to leave Miami completely, promised never to return, begged for a truce. At 8 p.m. on Thursday, Escobar received an anonymous call. It was Griselda. Her voice calm, almost indifferent. You laughed at me, Pablo. Called me a crazy whore, treated me like I was nothing. In front of 300 people, you disrespected me. And now 9 of your men are dead. The 10th dies at midnight. Not because I need to prove something, but because disrespecting the Godmother has a price. And you're going to pay that price in full so all the other dealers learn the lesson. Never, never disrespect Griselda Blanco. Escobar tried to respond, but the call was cut off. At 12:07 a.m., Antonio Ramirez, the last of Escobar's men still operating openly in Miami, was killed with a sniper shot while smoking on his apartment balcony. The shooter was never identified. The final note was delivered directly to Escobar's mansion. Someone taped it to the front gate. 10 down, 0 left. Miami belongs to the Godmother. You disrespected the wrong woman, Pablo. Now you know the price. Get out, never come back. And remind every man you know that Griselda Blanco is not a nobody. She is the Godmother. And the Godmother does not forgive disrespect. Friday, March 20th. Exactly 48 hours after Griselda's ultimatum, Pablo Escobar abandoned Miami, simply left. Shut down all cartel operations, withdrew all remaining men, left behind millions of dollars in product and infrastructure. He retreated completely rather than continue losing people to a woman who had proven she had the capacity and will to kill indefinitely. The story spread through the international drug world like a virus. Pablo Escobar, the most powerful Colombian trafficker, had publicly humiliated Griselda Blanco at the Mutiny Club. And in 48 hours, 10 of his men were dead, and he had been expelled from Miami by a woman who was 5 feet tall. Miami police were in absolute shock. 10 professional murders in a week. No witnesses willing to talk. No usable forensic evidence. And a clear message written in blood on Miami's streets. Do not disrespect the Godmother. The lesson lasted not just years, but decades. Dealers who worked in Miami after 1981 were extremely careful when dealing with Griselda Blanco. They treated her with respect, spoke politely, never assumed that because she was a woman or small they could intimidate or ridicule her, because everyone remembered what happened to Pablo Escobar when he made that mistake. Griselda Blanco continued controlling cocaine trafficking in Miami for the next 8 years. She built an empire worth $200 million annually. She became known as the Cocaine Godmother, the Black Widow, the most dangerous woman in America. And it all started that Friday night at the Mutiny Club. When Pablo Escobar made the fatal mistake of thinking he could publicly disrespect Griselda Blanco without paying the price. 10 bodies in 48 hours, a message written in blood that the drug world never forgot. Never underestimate a woman, especially when that woman is Griselda Blanco.